jump of either not voting either present or voting no on the anti-Goldstone resolution. But on top of that, there are 15 or 20 just didn't bother to make it to the floor that day. But I will tell you, there are very many Congress members who are sick and tired of being forced to take votes on these resolutions that are wildly imbalanced and being litmus tests all the time. They're sick of it. They would like a much more objective analysis. They'd like an analysis that is, they'd like to not have to always do that, and they're sick of it. Now, I will also say that there are forces on the other side that are using this to try to gain political points. I mean, if you watch Eric Cantor and some of the folks on the Republican side, they are trying to basically peel off the Jewish financial and political support from the Democratic side and try to say that President Obama and the Democrats in Congress don't support Israel. Their policies would be catastrophic to Israel in the long run, but they don't really care because, well, maybe they do. That's harsh to say. I disagree with them. I can't say they don't care, but I would profoundly disagree with their analysis of what's good for Israel or the United States. And I fear that there's a real political opportunism at work here rather than an intellectual analysis of the overall good of the region. And I would finally say, I am certain there is ignorance involved. And the reason I'm certain is it's always easy to say, well, anybody who disagrees with me is just uninformed. That's not accurate. That's facile. In fact, often very well-informed people disagree. But in this case, I'm certain because they ain't never been there. I'm sure it's ignorance because they are ignorant, not about everything, but they're certainly ignorant about what's happened on the ground in Gaza because they've never been. They're 90% sure they're ignorant about what's happened in the West Bank because they haven't been through a checkpoint. They've never seen Bethlehem as it is now surrounded, the little town. And by the way, I'm sure many of you have read Dmitri Rahab's wonderful work, Bethlehem Besieged, but they don't know that. And one of our goals and tasks is to get people from all perspectives into the region to see firsthand what many of you know and have seen and what I've been privileged to see, because it is, I think it's changing people if they see it.
What is the most effective way for us to reach our Congress people to either educate them or to influence them to vote on particular issues, in the direction of awareness?
That's a great question. I'll tell you what I think is so important. I think it's first important to recognize the political difficulties people are in. You may not like it, I don't like it, but understand that to take a position that, like I have taken, is easily, in many cases, a $200,000 to $400,000 political decision. Meaning it could cost you a couple $100,000 of contributions and could easily pump a couple $100,000 or more into the other camp. That's consequential. And it won't be made up for, I assure you, by the other side. It's not like somebody's going to go, okay, you've lost those contributions, we're going to backfill that. So understand the difficulty. Second, don't ask for 100% perfection. Appreciate gradual changes and create an environment where there's motive and understanding to change and where there is support for changing. I think it's helpful to do, the reason I mentioned Mitra Rahab's book and Phyllis's work and others, I'm a big believer you don't just start from somebody who's never thought about the issue to say, hey, you've never thought about it this way before, so go down tomorrow and take a potentially career-ending vote. That's not likely to be successful. You're more likely to say something like this. And the reason I like Mitri's book so well is it's little vignettes, 10, 12, 15 pages, that you kind of can't argue with. They're so powerful, so pure, so clear, and Phyllis's work is very clear. Say, would you do us a favor? Read this. That's all I'm not asking you to take the vote. Just read this. Or would you consider a trip with the New America Foundation? Don't ask right away, would you board the flotilla? That's a bit of a stretch, but, but would you go with the New America Foundation? Would you go to would you meet with some people? So start with the gradual changing the awareness. I think that's really powerful. And the other thing is you can ask people the next step would be, instead of saying, will you sign on to a strong resolution in the opposite direction, say, would you just not sign on so quickly to this other one? Would you consider calling somebody, calling Phyllis, calling New America, calling me, calling Keith? Would you talk to Keith Ellison or Brian Baird or pick some others before you sign on? Just hold the phone. Tell your staff, when you get that inevitable request to sign on to the letter of the resolution, take a breath, don't do it. You don't have to. Start with those small steps. They're actually pretty liberating. Maybe one or two more.
Yeah, let's just take one last question. Yeah, Shaquille.
Yeah, I'm wondering, Congressman, hats off to your work. Now that you will have some extra time after retirement, would you like to raise U.S. campaign to end radioactivation to become its advisor?
I'd certainly be willing to consider it. I'm very honored to be asked. A very wise member of Congress said, what you got to do is try to figure out when you're going to leave, what to do next. And there will be a lot of offers. And I will assure you, I have a commitment to this. I've spent too much energy. The stakes are too high. Too many good people are suffering. So I will stay involved in some way. I don't know what that is right now, but I will stay involved, and I'd certainly be available to the organization, whether in a formal role. I can't commit to that, but I could absolutely commit today to an informal role, and Craig and Cindy know how to get in touch with me. So I'm so deeply honored and humbled, and sincerely humbled to be here. You folks have put much more time and effort and have sacrificed more in many cases than I have, and I'm grateful for that. You've provided a service to your own country, you've provided a service to the people of the region, and you've provided a service to humanity, and I hope you'll keep it up. And as my good friend John Lewis says, never give up, never give out, never give in. Keep the faith. Thank you. Sit down.
We'll definitely be in touch. Take the box with you so we have something to activate.